All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our first webinar on New York PIP. It looks like we have about 14 people here. I'm really excited. My goal here is to help you protect yourself against some common tactics that insurance companies use in the claims and verification process to make your life more difficult and eventually to deny claims for medically necessary care based on technicalities. So to start out with, let's talk about something that nobody likes, and then let's talk about something that everybody likes. First, let's talk about paying lawyers. I want everybody to digitally raise your hand if you love paying legal fees. So if you navigate to the chat window, I want everybody who likes paying legal fees to raise your hand digitally and say yes, or send me a raised hand emoji, or tell me if you like paying legal fees. All right, I'm waiting for the chats to come in. I'm not seeing any. I don't see any raised hands or yeses. Okay, it looks like we have 18 people on this webinar and no one likes paying legal fees. All right, of course, nobody likes paying legal fees. Now, keep that in mind. Keep in mind that you don't want to pay legal fees. Now, let's talk about something that everybody likes, Amazon.com and shopping on Amazon.com. So let's look at a sample product purchase. I'm going to share my screen with you here. Okay, so here are some Clif bars that I ordered. Delicious snacks. Snacks are great. And you can see the tracking history. I can see when I ordered them. I can see when I shipped them. And I see that my snacks are out for delivery. Amazon has an internal term for the positive feeling that we experience when we look at our tracking and we know when our product is coming, and we feel really good about that, and we are excited about our Amazon day when we're going to get our products. They call it warm fuzzies. When something doesn't go right with a customer's order and we experience a bad emotional response because we didn't get what we wanted, we don't know where our product is, we can't find it, it's frustrating, they call that cold pricklies. This emotional response to being able to visually see and track the things that we want is important. And the negative emotional response that we get when we don't see where our products are is also important. These emotional responses are important in the billing and verification process because the kinds of evidence that you can create throughout this process can create those emotional responses if your claims end up going to arbitration or litigation. And they can also create those kinds of emotional responses when you're dealing with claims adjusters. And the evidence that you can give adjusters will affect how claims adjusters feel, and that can affect how they respond to you and how quickly you can get your bills and your verification issues dealt with. So let's go on. The title of this topic is Unlocking Your Revenue, 3 Keys in the Billing and Verification Process. And they're all going to start with R. The first key is going to be receipts. The second key is going to be response. And then the third key is going to be refer. Let's talk about the first key, receipts. Why is it so awesome when you order something on Amazon and you see visually when you're going to get your product? So in the example that I just showed you, I ordered some Clif bars, and I have tracking on when my Clif bars are going to come. I want everybody to think about your current billing processes, and do you have something that gives you the same security that you get when you purchase something on Amazon? If you send a bill to an insurance company, it's very important for you to have some kind of documented receipt that you can use so that you can enjoy your bills getting to the insurance company in the same way that you can enjoy your products from Amazon. Essentially, those bills are money. You're not getting Clif bars, you're getting money from an insurance company for work that your practice has done, and it's really important. So how does this help us? If you're not already doing it, you may have encountered situations where an insurance company takes a really, really long time to get back to you. They're not sure where a bill is. Maybe you have encountered a situation where an insurance company has actually denied your bill and they say they never received it. One of the issues that we deal with here at Callagy Law is helping providers deal with insurance companies that say they've never received a bill and figuring out how to prove that the bill was submitted within the deadline. Receipts are really, really important, and that's some of the best evidence. So when we order Clif Bars, we get a tracking number from FedEx or USPS, and tracking numbers are some of the best kinds of evidence that you can use to prove that all of your bills are going through to insurance companies. And Nicholas, I see you're asking about the recording being sent to you afterwards. Yes, it will be. This is going to be posted on YouTube, and you can also reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll be monitoring the chat screen if anybody wants to interrupt or ask for clarification. And you can also send me an email, or you can call me on the phone. So, okay, getting back to receipts. This is our first key. It's important for you to have proof in the form of documentation for your bills. So, okay, in addition to having this warm, fuzzy feeling that you can see where your bill is going and you know you're going to get that money from the insurance company, if the insurance company makes a mistake, they won't be able to say, hey, that's not our fault. We never received the bill. You'll be able to send them a receipt and you'll be able to say, oh, look what you did. You made a mistake. You received it and you lost it. A tracking number is really good evidence. So think about it. If in some instances a particular insurance company offers methods of claim submission other than mail that you prefer, that's okay. Some insurance companies allow you to submit your bills via their website or by fax or some other method. And that's great. We have lots of technologies now that are making our lives easier and more efficient in some ways. But it's important for you to make sure that you find a way to have a receipt for every single bill that you submit. You don't want to get into a situation where the only proof or evidence of a bill submission is your personal recollection or maybe a note that you entered into your billing software saying that you mailed something. That kind of evidence is helpful, but it isn't necessarily going to absolutely prove your case if you end up going to arbitration or litigation, because entering a note into software that you sent something in the mail doesn't prove that it was actually mailed. It just proved that you wrote into your software that you were going to mail it or that you thought it was mailed. So it's still something that we can work with. If before today, that's what you were doing, you sent it in the mail and you didn't have any kind of receipts, but you kept track of that in your software, we can work with that. The strategy basically there is to try to get a settlement, and if the insurance company says, hey, we really never received that bill, we can't help you. If we have to go to arbitration or litigation, many times we can take your screenshot as contemporaneous corroboration of the fact that you recall sending the bill, and we can help you to write a document explaining your personal knowledge that the bill was sent, and then it will come down to a judgment call by an arbitrator or a judge. So remember, a key here is receipts. Receipts are really, really great. We get receipts for every purchase that we make online, if it's a pair of shoes, if it's snacks, if it's a computer. When we're dealing with medical bills that are worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes even more, that's really, really valuable. And we want the same kinds of protections on those bills that we get on these much more everyday items, like Clif Bars or a pair of shoes. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the billing process or receipts? And I'll give everyone a moment to type in the chat screen if you do have any questions. Okay, great. So we talked about warm fuzzies and cold pricklies, receipts, and not paying legal fees. If you have really, really good documentation, understand it, why are you asking me for this? Okay, so Christina is asking about date stamps for the documents. That's a really good question. When you generate your receipts, you are going to want something that proves the date on which it was sent. In New York no-fault claims, providers are required to submit their bills to the insurance company within 45 days of the date of service. As a general good practice, try to make sure that you submit your bills way before that deadline. I recognize that in comparison to commercial insurance and other kinds of insurance, a 45-day deadline is very tight. The reason for that is that the law is written with the express intent to make sure that bills get processed and paid quickly. No fault has a very high volume of claims and a very high volume of claim disputes, and having short deadlines is one of the ways that the New York legislature decided that they would try to make things happen sooner. In practice, it does create some headaches, but in the same way that we can enjoy warm fuzzies with our Amazon products, I want you to understand that you can take control of at least some aspects of this process and protect yourself, and maybe send us fewer claims and get your money sooner. So yeah, you want something that is going to have the date on it so that you can prove that you submitted your bill to the insurance company well before the 45-day deadline from the date of service. All right, so let's move on to talking about the verification process. While an insurance company normally has 30 days to pay or deny a claim, they don't have to pay or deny a claim at all until they have all of the information that they need in order to process the claim. The jargon word for this that is used in the regulation and the statute for New York no fault is verification. So an insurance company gets the bill and maybe some medical records, and they think they don't have enough information. Some of these verification requests can be pretty ridiculous. For example, I've seen verification requests that say, we received your documents in black and white. That's not good enough. We need them in color. That's a bit much. Has anybody ever felt that kind of frustration with an insurance company? Yeah, you probably have. I've seen other verification requests that refused to accept a doctor's electronic signature, and they wanted ink or handwritten signatures. That strikes me as pretty ridiculous. The regulatory and statutory language about what information an insurance company needs before its deadline to pay or deny a claim starts is pretty vague. It just says the insurance company is entitled to everything that it needs. But there are a couple of keys here. And remember, the broad key for verification requests is response. So you get a verification request. Maybe it's a little weird. Maybe there is some stuff in there that the insurance company actually does need. It's very important for you to respond. Even though insurance companies can request pretty much anything they want, there are some limits on their ability to uphold a denial if they say the verification request was not met. First, an insurance company has to have a good faith basis for asking for these kinds, for the information that it wants from you. So that's really, really good. Why is this good? It means that if they do ask for something that's really ridiculous, like demanding color copies and saying black and white is not good enough, or saying that an electronic signature, and it's 2018, yes, everybody's signing things electronically these days, and it's secure, or so the internet technology people tell me. If they want that kind of stuff, just respond. The key is respond. The most common reason that providers get into trouble with verification requests is lack of response. And even then, there may be some technical aspects of the law that allow us to help you if an insurance company says they didn't receive a response or their response was insufficient. But the most important key in the law here is that the parties are supposed to talk to each other during the verification process. So you want to make sure that you respond to every single communication that you get from an insurance company, even if it's unreasonable, even if they're asking for information that you don't have, even if you've already provided that information. Going back to our first key, receipts. Now we have two keys, response and receipt. Every single time you talk to an insurance company about a verification request, you want to document this. It's possible that verification requests could generate a larger volume of correspondence and phone calls than simply sending a bill out. So if you don't want to use a tracking number or through FedEx or USPS, that's reasonable. I'm not necessarily saying ignore tracking numbers in this instance. As a lawyer, I want everything documented in the most laborious ways. But in this instance, think about what is best for you and your practice. You do want some kind of receipts that you responded. Who thinks that taking just a few minutes to document your response and avoid frustration later is a good idea? So you say, make sure that you get a fax confirmation. Let's say you have a phone call with an insurance company and something is agreed to during that phone call. You're going to want a receipt for it. Who thinks taking the time to send a fax saying, this is to confirm our phone conversation in which we agreed to XYZ. If that can avoid getting a claim denied, who thinks it's worth it? So raise your hand digitally if you think taking 5 minutes to send a fax confirmation of a phone call is worth it if it avoids a possible claim denial. Yeah? It's really worth it. You can potentially send us fewer cases, and the cases that you do send us will have better evidence. So just so everybody is aware, the deadline to respond to a verification request is pretty long. You have 120 days from the date of the first verification request letter. I'll say that again, it's a little bit complicated. It's a bit of a mouthful. 120 days from the date of the first verification letter. Remember that the point of a verification process is for a provider and an insurance company to talk to each other. So use the time that you have to communicate with the insurance company. More communication is almost always going to be better. Of course, if you have specific questions about specific verification requests, that's something that you should address to me in email or over the phone so that we can give you specific legal advice about it. This recommendation here is just to outline some of the broad strategies that you can use in general to protect yourself during the verification request, since this does give an insurance company a potential opening to deny medically necessary care. Our last key that we'll talk about is refer. So we've got receipts, we've got response, and we've got refer. If an insurance company requests information from you that is not in your possession, the fact that you don't have it isn't something that can enable the insurance company to deny your claim, provided that you respond and you let them know where they can get this information. Sometimes if you have a procedure performed where there are a lot of different providers, say you have a surgeon, you have ancillary care providers, and you have a facility bill, the insurance company may receive different bills at different times. It's possible that different insurance adjusters are going to be working on the same claim and the same procedure and the same date of service, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. But again, the point of this webinar is to protect yourself and empower yourself to take control and prevent the insurance companies from finding ways to deny payment. So just make sure that if you don't have some information, respond to them, get a receipt for the response, and tell them where they can find that information. I occasionally have providers tell me that they sat on a bill or they sat on a verification response because they were waiting for information from a third party or from the patient. You should not wait. The most important thing for you to do is to respond promptly. As long as you stay in good communication and you have receipts for your responses and you refer the insurance company to wherever they can find the information that they need, you will be protecting yourself. You can send us fewer cases, and the cases that you do send us will have better evidence. What do you do with all of these receipts that you're generating? You can put them right in the patient file. You can put them at the end. Most of the time, you're not going to need to look at them. But I'm a lawyer. I deal with the cases where things went wrong. And one of the best ways to reduce your risk when things do go wrong is get it in writing, have a receipt, respond, and if there's something that you don't have, refer. That pretty much covers it. Does anybody have questions about the billing process for New York no-fault, verification requests, or about any of the 3 keys that we've discussed? Okay, great. I'm not seeing any questions. So I hope everybody feels a little bit more empowered now. Insurance companies really love billing issues and they love verification issues because they can validly deny claims for medically necessary care, and they just get to do that. That's legal. But you can empower yourself and you can take control to protect yourself from possible places where they can do this. So we have a couple of additional webinars coming up over the next few weeks. I'm going to have one webinar on the New York physician fee schedule. I think some of you may be New Jersey providers. New Jersey's fee schedule is really easy to understand. They publish a CPT code, a description of the code, and then they tell you how much the payment rate is. Great. In New York, that doesn't exist. New York uses an algorithm with different kinds of variables. If you have a coding background, it's definitely something that you can learn fairly quickly. And we here at Callagy Law have invested a lot of effort in figuring out a lot of the jargon and finding out where the publicly accessible files are located. So, all right, we'll be talking about the physician fee schedule in one webinar. We'll have another webinar on the facility fee schedule. I get lots and lots of questions about the facility fee schedule. You may have been told either by New York state agencies, insurance carriers, or other people in the medical field that there's software that is published by 3M. It's very, very expensive. A quote that I heard about is that it costs something like $15,000 in your first year. Everything that you need to deal with the facility fee schedule is required by law to be posted publicly on the internet, and Callagy Law has found all of those files, and we can show you how to use them. We'll also be doing a webinar on some of the top reasons for denials and how you can fight back against them. And then we're going to have an open mic night where you can ask any questions that you have, and you can get them answered. So thank you so much. I'm so happy that it looks like we have a lot of people here. That's awesome. I love this. You can reach out to me by phone at 201-261-1700, extension 1040. That's 201-261-1700, extension 1040. And you can send me an email address. My name is Michael Bittoni, and my email address is mb, like in Brooklyn, ITTONI @callagylaw.com, CALLAGY.com. And you can also connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. This has been awesome. Thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.